easy to use. I mean, I put it in tea, you can sprinkle it on your oatmeal, you can do just about anything you want with it. But it's got tremendous activities. It's antimicrobial. It actually will destroy bacteria in your body, help you fight infection. It has antioxidant domains too. It's an antipyretic. It means it can control fever. What else about cinnamon? Well, cinnamon has a component, the flavor component. It's called cinnamic aldehyde. And flavor companies actually sell cinnamic aldehyde, and it's a substance called generally recognized as safe. So your toothpastes and a lot of candies have cinnamic aldehyde as a flavoring agent. Very powerful. But cinnamic aldehyde is being studied by a group at the University of Arizona, Dr. Wondrak and Caballo. And they're looking at the protective effects of chemoprevention, preventing cancer, and photochemoprevention, preventing changes in the skin from ultraviolet light. And what they found is more than amazing. That cinnamic aldehyde, just an extract, an oil from cinnamon, can ramp down inflammation very rapidly. And when it was taken as a derivative and put on skin that was irradiated by sun, what happens when we get too much sun is the cells actually do get damaged and they go into apoptosis, and they're called sunburn cells. So they looked at the effects of the cinnamic aldehyde on sunburn cells, and they found that it completely prevented damage from the sun. They're also looking at studies using it as a possible cancer treatment. And a deadly skin cancer that we have to face as dermatologists is called melanoma. And melanoma is a strange disease because the incidence has increased from 1930s from 1 in 10,000 in this country to 1 in 80 today. And we don't know why. And we don't have any good therapies for melanoma. I mean, when you have that diagnosis, it's going to be difficult because the chemotherapeutic agents we have now just don't work that well. When they looked at cinnamic aldehyde, it would rapidly destroy tumors that had been transferred from humans into animals, rapidly make that tumor shrink. And so the question was, how's it working? Well, it's working because, once again, it's an antioxidant and it has a pro-oxidant domain. And this pro-oxidant domain actually has a name to it. I'm just going to probably say it once, but it's called a Michael acceptor pharmacophore. Pharmacophore means there's a little drug action in there, but a Michael acceptor pharmacophore makes it bind with those transcription factors, form those covalent bonds, turn off the bad guys, turn on the good guy, and save the day. And so the Michael acceptor pharmacophore in cinnamic aldehyde looks very similar to the active pro-oxidant domains we find in watercress and the brassica family. So you're going to see a theme here that these molecules are like a very, very good pharmaceutical agent. They also have the same activity, and structurally, they look pretty similar. So I recommend you all start cinnamon today. Another old, new superfood is turmeric. Now, turmeric is found in curry. It has this bright yellow color. So if you see those bright yellow colors, you know that it has powerful antioxidant activity. But turmeric is a tremendously powerful anti-inflammatory. And looking at the mechanism of action of turmeric, once again, is that it has a Michael acceptor pharmacophore. And so we're looking at turmeric as a anti-cancer agent, but you understand when I say that something is chemopreventive or can treat cancer, it has powerful anti-inflammatory activity, and that can be applied to our daily lives, not to just prevent cancer, but to prevent the progressive deterioration we see with aging, to prevent the onset of cytopathic hypoxia in our mitochondria. And so by using these wonderful spices that are delicious and adding them to our foods, we are getting the best therapy in the world. They're inexpensive and they're safe. There are no side effects. Turmeric has a fraction called curcumin, and curcumin is the active fraction. And when curcumin gets into the cell, it once again, by manipulating those sensors, those transcription factors, it can make the cancer cells go into apoptosis or death. So curcumin's high on my list, and I just want to give you a little peek at this wonderful powder. There it is. It's a nice bright color. It gives that curry its flavor and its color. And I actually take about 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric and put it in my protein drink in the morning. And so I start with green tea, with cinnamon and honey and coconut oil, and then make my protein drink with blueberries, which we're going to talk about later, and turmeric. And it actually tastes very good. Superfoods, old new superfoods. And this one's going to be fun to talk about because it's about cocoa chocolate. Cocoa comes from trees that are found in the tropical rainforest. And the Aztecs actually used cocoa as a form of money. And as you know now, a piece of chocolate's worth a lot more than $1 is. Cocoa contains over 300 chemicals that can alter brain chemistry. And so cocoa can affect neurotransmitters like serotonin, which is a feel-good molecule, you know, the one they give you Prozac for. And cocoa can also affect dopamine levels, which helps memory and acuity and a number of other factors of movement in the body. Cocoa activates opiate receptors in the brain. So they're opiate-like peptides. So it makes you feel really good when you eat chocolate because it helps you release these endogenous endorphins. We look at cocoa and say, well, how does this work? And one of the molecules is called phenylethylamine. And it gives you the feeling that you get when you're in love. And so it can raise all of these levels. So we find that people who are having a bad romance tend to eat a lot of chocolate. And what they're doing is they're trying to treat themselves for it. But the cocoa, you want to have it in a fairly high level. So if you eat chocolate, you want to get like 70% or higher in terms of its cocoa content. Don't worry about the fats in chocolate when you have a high cocoa content. It's stearic acid. It's called a medium-chain fatty acid. It does not affect you in an adverse way. And when you get chocolate, I want you to make sure that it's non-Dutch chocolate. Because if it's Dutch chocolate, it's treated with an alkaloid. It's an alkali process that destroys the phytonutrients that have activity. So non-Dutch chocolate. So what's chocolate doing? It's powerful anti-inflammatory antioxidant. It contains antioxidants, polyphenols called catechins. And catechins are also found in green tea. And these catechins protect your brain, and they protect your skin, and there are lots of other antioxidants called flavonoids and proanthocyanidins in chocolate. But let's look at the catechins. If we look at that molecule, it's a powerful antioxidant. But once again, it has a pro-oxidant domain. Remember the pharmacophore? So chocolate has that as well. As I mentioned, cocoa has high levels of antioxidants, and they're called procyanidins. And there's a fraction of the antioxidant called procyanidin B2 that inhibits the bad actors, transcription factor NF-kappa B, which creates inflammation, and AP1. And if we look at this a little bit further and said it might be effective if it were applied to skin. So we actually took the procyanidin B2 fraction and put it on skin and looked at the clinical results, and they were very, very positive. So the good news is that in the future, we'll not only be eating chocolate, but we'll be putting it on our skin. The next old new superfood is tea. And I know that I talk a lot about green tea, but I want to also let you know that black tea has tremendous amount of therapeutic capability as well. It's just that the active antioxidants are a little bit different, and they act a little bit differently. But black tea is cardioprotective, prevents cardiovascular disease, a lot of good things. So I'm going to talk about tea in general today, but tea contains powerful antioxidants, and we knew that because we have a lot of history on tea. There's been a lot of research from different cultures. The polyphenol is called epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG. It is a powerful antioxidant, and it has benefits of neuroprotective, protects the brain. People who drink 7 to 8 cups of tea a day actually have better skin, less wrinkling. They have less incidence of cardiovascular disease. We know it's a powerful chemopreventive, cancer-preventing agent. And so, not surprising, when we look at the EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, and we just zoom in, there's a portion of that molecule that's an active pharmacophore. And we can use this as a therapeutic agent in many different ways. As we know, there are a number of scientists working today using the extracts of EGCG on skin to see if they can prevent skin cancer or reverse it. This molecule really does bind very tightly to NRF2, and so upregulates those 15 or 20 cytoprotective chemicals, of which glutathione is one of them, and then a lot of others surrounding it. And green tea can push cancer cells into apoptosis, but also can prevent apoptosis in other diseases where we don't want to lose our cells. So green tea is really, along with black tea and many different teas, is really effective in our quest for health and beauty. A friend of mine who is a very famous pathologist is Chinese, and he drinks 7 to 8 cups of green tea a day. And this is anecdotal, but he's in his 70s and he looks absolutely terrific. And he tells me, "Doctor, it's the green tea." The next superfood I want to talk about is actually kind of funny, old news superfood. It's called Chia. Now you're wondering, what's Chia? How many of you had Chia pets? Remember those sold around the holidays? You want to get Chia pet? Well, Chia actually has a seed, and it's been used for centuries in Mexico as an endurance food. And it is loaded with nutrients. It's high in protein with almost a complete amino acid profile. Now, what does that mean? There are certain amino acids that are essential that we can't make in our bodies, and there's 9 of them, but there's like 20 or 21 amino acids. But this has all essential amino acids. Remember, you need protein on a daily basis to prevent the aging process. Chia also contains a good supply of low glycemic carbohydrates. So it's going to give you a supply of energy without elevating blood sugar and insulin levels. So it's not going to be pro-inflammatory. Also has a lot of minerals and vitamins, but it contains a good amount of precursors of omega-3s. We know omega-3s are healthy for heart and brain and the immune system. If you want stamina, use Chia. Now, if you take Chia, a scoop of seeds, and you put it in a glass of water and let it sit for a while, it forms a gel. And if you take the gel with a spoon, it's a little slimy, but you'll feel the seeds inside. And that hydrophilic gel actually adheres to the gastrointestinal tract and slowly releases all these nutrients over a period of time. A friend of mine whose daughter is a desert runner, I didn't know what that was, but they run 100 miles at a time, use Chia, and they just can keep running all day. So Chia is an amazing food because it can decrease appetite, it can sustain energy, and if you're a long-distance runner, and I think we all are, whether we're in the office or we're in the desert, we need this kind of energy. So I'm really fascinated about Chia. I've never had a Chia pet before, but I think I'm going to buy one this year.